Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name's Hannah, and today we're going to do my March reading wrap-up. It's pretty windy outside, so I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. But month of March, I read a total of 7 books. I think my average rating was about 3.4 stars. Honestly, not the best month reading wise. Like, the number that I read was decent, but the quality of the books was kind of mid. I feel like I did have some good books, but the ones that weren't good were really not good. So we'll get into that. First up, the first book I read in March was Bewitched by Lauren Thalassa. Listen to this one on Audible. I can't remember if it was Bailey or Mariana talking about the series, and they said it gave off the Mummy vibes, which was literally all I needed to know going into it. And now that I've read it, I can totally see why. But anyway, it's about a witch named Celine Bowers. She wants to get into this coven, Henbane Coven, so bad that she'll do almost anything for it. They don't want to accept her though, because she has this condition that whenever she uses her magic, she loses some of her memories, and it's deemed as like a terminal thing. So she goes off on this magical quest because they tell her, you know what, you can get into the coven if you do a quest and you get a familiar. So she goes on this quest, ends up with a familiar, and ends up awakening this, I always want to call him, he's not a mummy, but she ends up awakening this guy who's been asleep for thousands of years, and he thinks that she is his wife that betrayed him. So now she's got to deal with that. She does end up getting into the coven, but then people start getting murdered. So there's a whole mystery, and then she's got this Memnon guy going after her, but he still like loves her so much because he thinks that she's his wife. And basically, like, the mummy vibes is Memnon is basically Imhotep, and it's basically if Imhotep got the girl kind of thing. So I really enjoyed this. I loved it. I gave this 4 stars, and I do highly recommend it. The second book I read in the month of March was Lore Olympus Volume 3. If you don't know Lore Olympus, this is a graphic novel series that's about the story of Hades and Persephone. And I love anything Greek mythology, especially Hades and Persephone, and the artwork is just stunning. So this is the third one in the series. This one I ended up giving 4.5 stars. I did really enjoy this one. The first 2, I think I gave both of those 5 stars. The reason this one wasn't 5 stars is because we didn't have as much story progression. It was a lot of reflection and kind of dealing with things that happened in the past 2 books, which wasn't a bad thing, but I just wish there was a little more progression along with the reflection. But all in all, I adore this series, and it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. They're also super quick reads too, so this was kind of keeping me afloat this month with some of the reads I was dealing with. The third book I read was Be Spelled, which is the second book in the Bewitched series. So in this one, not to spoil too much about the first one, but there's still the mystery of the murders going on, and just more continuation of her and Memnon, and that's all I'm gonna leave it at, because I feel like if I say anything else, it's gonna spoil things. So that was another 4 stars. I like these books so much. I pre-ordered. There's like some special editions coming out of them, and then the third one's also going to be in the same style, so I pre-ordered those. Can't wait to have those. Can't wait for the third one. The fourth book I read in the month of March is The Surrogate Mother by Frida McFadden. This one I listened to on Spotify. Again, I just needed something else, and this one was 3.5 stars. It was good. It was just kind of missing that gigantic twist that Frida is known for. There were like some small reviews, but like nothing super mind-blowing. But you're just basically following this woman who her and her husband have been trying to get pregnant forever. They haven't had any luck. They ended up getting a surrogate, and then she ends up backing out at the last minute. So their like hopes and dreams of becoming parents are destroyed. Her husband's starting to push for trying to adopt an older kid. She's dead set on having a baby. and then her assistant at work offers to be their surrogate. And then just chaos ensues. Like the weirdest shit starts happening, and you're like super suspicious of a bunch of stuff, and like you just feel so bad for this woman because the things that are happening to her are nuts. So it was a good book and it was entertaining. Just again, we didn't have like a massive like twist. I was like, what? Like a couple, like I said, a couple small reveals, but nothing super crazy. So still a good book, just not what I usually expect from Frida. And then the next book that I read, again, I was still having a really hard time with the other physicals I was trying to read, so I ended up buying volume 4 of Lore Olympus and binged this. And this one is another 5 stars. I felt like we got even more progression between Hades and Persephone in this one. And again, I adore the artwork. It's beautiful. The story's great. There are some heavier themes in this series, which I should have mentioned before. So definitely, she has like some kind of trigger warnings in the beginning. So definitely check those out and proceed with caution. But again, I adore this series so much. And I got to get my hands on the next few of these. So that's all I'll say about that. The next book I read was The Vanishing Season by Dot Hutchinson. This is the 4th and final book in the Collector series, which, if you've heard of the Butterfly Garden, is like the most popular out of the series, and that's the first book. But it's a series following FBI agents, and they are all in the Crimes Against Children department. And each of these books focuses on a different case, and usually kind of primarily on a different agent leading on those cases. So the first one was my favorite. The Butterfly Garden, hands down, is a fantastic book. The second book, Roses of May, little slower, took me a little bit to get into that one, but still I really enjoyed that one. The third book, I couldn't tell you anything about it. I completely forgot what happened in that book. I did enjoy it, I just have no recollection of it. And then this one, I ended up giving 2 stars. This one, we're following Agent Eliza Sterling, and there's this little girl who goes missing, and that's the case we're dealing with. We end up kind of uncovering something huge, more than just this one missing girl. But my problem with this book is I feel like we focused so much on the agents' lives, and not just her, like a bunch of them, that we weren't really talking about the case too much. And like my favorite part of these is the cases and the details of the case. And when we were in that, I loved it. I was devouring it, but it felt like it took so long to actually dive into the case. And then we spent so little time on it, and then kind of back to the agents' lives and their personal things that they're dealing with on the side, that when we kind of got to the conclusion of everything, I didn't really care. So I'm not going to say that this was a bad book. Some people might have really enjoyed it, but this was so slow for me, and it took me forever to read. So kind of sucks that this series ended on that note. But again, Butterfly Garden and The Roses of May, definitely worth a read. I'll say the third one, I think it's The Summer Children. Sure, read it, but honestly kind of forgot about it. This one, I'll leave it up to you if you want to read this one, but definitely at least read The Butterfly Garden, because that one was fantastic. And then the last book I read, I don't have it because I loaned it to my coworker because she read the other 2 books in this trilogy, and that is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This one I started at the beginning of the month, and I got a little over halfway through, and I just had to put it down. Something happens in that book that royally pissed me off, and I thought about DNFing it. I posted on Fable, like, what do you guys think? Like, should I continue on? Should I just say screw it and not finish it? And a lot of people said that they know what I was talking about. They weren't thrilled with that book as a whole, but sure, go ahead and finish it. So it kind of started out slow, which, you know, we're coming off of 2 books already, kind of getting back into it. And so it was a little slow, and then we kind of get the case that we're going to have for this book. And that's when my interest kind of heightened a bit, and I'm like, okay, here we go, let's do this. And then this thing happens that, again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it just irked me so much, and I just felt like that's not what our character would have done. And then so I ended up picking it back up. I ended up finishing it, obviously. And there was nothing redeeming, honestly, about any of the events that happened afterward. I hated it. It made me so mad. So this gets a 1 star. I recommend the trilogy as a whole. And I say, go ahead and read the 3rd book. But honestly, if you get to the point and you know what I'm talking about and you were pissed off, you could probably just stop. You could probably just look up a spoiler summary and just stop right there. I know there are some people that actually do enjoy this book, but from what I've heard, I feel like a lot of people did not like where this book went, which kind of makes me feel justified. I was really hoping I was going to have a different opinion, but now I completely understand. So those were all the books I read in March. I'd already posted my April TBR, so if you guys want to see what I'm going to be reading in April, go ahead and check that video, or at least what I'm hoping to read in April. There were a couple books on my TBR for this month I didn't get to. There's The Poisoner by Ivy Ophelia. I am currently reading that, and I thought I was going to finish it, but I didn't by the end of the month. So that will be in my April wrap-up. I also wanted to read The Housemaid is Watching to finish up that series, but after those 2 books just weren't going well, I'm putting that one on pause. And I was supposed to read The Queen of Myth and... The Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair, which is the 2nd book to the Adrienne and Isolde. I think it's just a duet. But again, I just didn't get to it, so that one's shelved for now. We'll get to that at some point. So let me know your thoughts on any of these books if you've read them. And I'd love to hear, especially if you've read As Good as Dead, and what your thoughts were on that one. But that's all I have for now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.